Hi, and welcome back to another class. So today we are going to be doing this little mermaid, just because mermaids are fun. So we're going to start off with like the body and the hair. We'll do the background separately. And then this is just a lot of layering of some of your light colors. So this isn't something I feel like we need to like necessarily draw in. The shape is very basic here. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of my Viridian green. Let me wet these. And some of our phthalo blue, which is going to be this one here, much different than the ultramarine blue. Okay, so on this part, as far as where her back meets her hair, I'm just going to leave an irregular edge there, and then I will work accordingly. So I'm going to get a little mix between these, and then I can adapt accordingly. Lily. Hey. I think, let me get a base layer in here. Okay, I think I'm going to have to do this real quick and then stop. So this will be dry when I come back. But I think Lily wants to go out, so I better take her out real quick. Usually if I leave them inside, I'm in my workshop right now, they're just going to try to bark at everything that goes by. So let me just drop in, or just where I want to strengthen up. So this is all wet, so my colors are going to diffuse. So just kind of give where her hips are rear. This, like I said, we'll leave this kind of irregular here where we can accommodate for her hair. I can even bring some little bits up into there to allow for her hair to come down. And we want these edges here, you know, fairly smooth. So if I want to lighten anything, I can also lift that during that time. So if I want to lighten that center part. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry and I will be right back. Okay, it looks like we're ready to proceed. So I'm probably going to work on her hair next here. Give this a little more time. So I can see here with the buckling, it's still damp, but I'll probably let this dry a little bit more, and I'll come and work in a little bit of maybe some of the sap green in here. If I kept working this now, if I came in with a really wet color, I'm going to end up lifting some of this out and disturbing it. So it's always best if I can let that dry. So when you use a little bit of my burnt sienna, I'll give her some red hair. Actually, it is, well, today is May 26th for me. And today is World Redhead Day. I saw that someone I know who is a redhead had posted that on Facebook, and I shared that with my daughter. I've got 2 kids that are redheads. All right, so you know, she just has long hair that's kind of coming down. I've got it kind of wispy coming this way. I'm going to put a little bit, even though I've got all that ready, I'm going to put a little bit of this. You just want kind of a variety of some colors to give it some depth. So and then, so this will have to work in sections, because if I keep like painting this and painting this right now and don't give it time to dry, all my colors are just going to muddy up. So I'm just going to get a little base of some of these in. That should be enough for right now. So on the tail part, I can start off using the same colors I already have out. So here's where I want to kind of bring this down a little higher here. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of put some of these base things in. This, we want her tail and these little side fins to kind of feel a little more transparent. Okay, and I bring that around that way. And so by not filling this all in and kind of having these little stronger pieces that kind of come through. And then I'll do the kind of the same thing for here. So right off that kind of high part of her hip there is where I'll bring these little side fins. Don't have to be exact, but you know, kind of at least similar. Okay. And I think what I'll do here, still giving that a little more time to dry, is I'll pick up, let's go a little tiny bit of magenta. Okay, kind of nice and thin. And then here's where I'll put a little bit of this in, and then just with a damp brush, I just want to soften all that out. I'll give a little bit in here. And then let's do a little purple with this. So if I take my magenta, if I actually use my ultramarine blue here, get a little brighter purple with those. Okay, and again, keep it nice and thin. And then let's just pop a little bit of this in here. And then just a damp brush. Soften all that. And I'm okay to kind of leave a little spot or two, like where it doesn't have anything, where it's even more like transparent in there. Now I just watched getting too You know, you can always lift some out if you want a little more transparency to it. Okay. There we go. All right, and we'll add just a tiny bit of this purple into here. And then this would be a good time to come up and do a little bit more with her hair. So I'm going to use a little bit of my burnt sienna here where it's a little deeper. And then I'll just come in and add some of the strands here to just kind of bring in some depth. You know, try not to get too fussy with the hair. I just trying to have some fun with it. Trying to keep it more light and wispy. Okay. And then this would be a good time here because I haven't really saturated that a lot. This isn't very saturated either, and I can go ahead and kind of put that background in, and I'm just going to use a very thin wash of what I've got here. So kind of my my phthalo blue, and you can keep it even stronger on that phthalo blue side just to give a little more contrast against the greens we have in her body. So you know, I could do my wash with this. Or I don't see it, so we're going to do the background with this. If you have a flat brush, this is a good time to use that. So I'm going to do all of this, but I'm also going to leave some little variations so I have a little bit of color shifting. So I can come right up here next to her hair. And on this, I'm going to keep all of my strokes kind of going in the same direction. Come right up to her body here. So see, this is dry. I'm not going to disturb what I have going on. Okay. So when you're doing something like this, like, you know, she could be swimming with her arms in front. Since we don't see them, that is what we would be implying here. Sometimes it's easier to leave some of those elements out because for me right now, it's really all about her tail and the texture that we're going to be putting into her, the body here, where we'll be adding in some scales and things like that. So while this is still kind of wet, this is where, you know, I can come in and I'm just gonna, and I'll move this around. But I just want to add a little variation, a little texture or depth or like mystery. What is going on back in here? And if you keep it soft, yeah, that helps. So here's where I'll come in now to some sap green, and I'll put that here. And so very lightly while this is wet, okay? Get a little wetter there. If I just kind of imply a little bit of seaweedness. So you can see how nice this looks here where it's soft. So where this went on stronger. So as long as I don't wait too long, and just come in and move this, and just let that kind of soften out. So now we've got some mystery seaweed kind of growing there. Alright, so while I've got that sap green, I'm going to use a little bit of it lightly. And now I'll come over and add a little bit of that tone in here. And so again, when I put this on, I want that color to be soft. So like I want to watch here where I've got that distinctive brush stroke, just to come in now with a damp brush and just soften that off. I can bring a little stronger in on there. Pick up a little bit of the blue, kind of really accent down in here. Again, let's do just a nice soft transition there to that color. Let's bring a little bit here too. Remember, like when I'm recreating something that I've already done, my goal is not necessarily to always do it identical. You know, I like to give a little bit of space for, okay, how can I interpret this differently? What do I like about this one? What can I experiment with? And that's where you learn a lot by repainting the same things over again. I'm going to bring a little bit of that green down in here. Super soft, super light, and this is just a way to keep all my colors kind of tied together. I'm okay with how my hair is right now. I mean, I could work it a little bit more if I felt like I wanted to add a little bit more to it, but yeah, this is just what I'm doing for fun, for practice. So, but this would be a time where you could evaluate, you know, maybe what do I need to clarify here? I feel a couple of the little curled ends on this side. But I'm not going to come back in and mess with the whole thing. I think I'm going to do best if I just lift off the orange from there. I'm just not going to get any real effect from that. Trying to... Okay, so I'm going to let this dry probably a little bit more. So this would be a good time where I could come in and pop in some little soft jellyfish. So hopefully you've done my little jellyfish tutorial, and where we've kind of covered some little basic things about their shape. I'm a little drier right here, so I'm always going to work on that area first. So if you have kind of the hood here, like on this part here, you want to keep that kind of like open, and then my little trindles as they come down, right? Kind of move them, let them have some flow. And then here on the inside, so you can see in comparison, these are nice and soft. This is a little harsh. So now I'm just going to come in with a damp brush. And I'm just going to soften some of this right now. And then I probably need to come in and just reestablish kind of this edge here. So that one got a little darker than probably what I would have liked to it have been. So I think if I maybe don't wait quite as long to, I'm going to soften that out now and do these separately. And keep these nice and thin. I think that was my thing down here on my little trindles. They were probably a little stronger than what I wanted. And you see this has a lot more, it's a lot more delicate looking because it's a little lighter. Okay, and I'll just do that. And then now we'll pop one in over here. Soften out the hood. And when you're doing these little trindles, remember you don't have to have one continuous line. Like I can skip and break and just keep them nice and soft that way. Alright, so I'll let those dry a little bit. So here's where we'll come in with our kind of green blue mixture now, and then here's where we'll kind of start to plan where, and I don't want this super wet. You know, I want to plan where these little scales are going to go, and so I'm just making like a little tiny smile shape and just a little curve. Place these. I'm kind of keeping them off of here, just where that's, I'm trying to create that little bit of depth. This is coming a little more forward. So not putting these everywhere kind of helps to keep your eye moving when you're looking at, you know, like your composition. You know, you've got your little different things to look at, different little textures going on. Okay. All right. And so Oh, and then here is where I can come in easily with a little gel pen. And what I want to do here is on the inside, like the little top edge. So if this is a smile, it's almost like coming on the upper lip here. And I'm just going to bring a little highlight with a gel pen. That's going to give a little more contrast. So like on here, where this kind of got a little smear around, I could even come in now and almost do a reversal thing, where by coming in with the gel pen over the kind of this blob that kind of happened. If you can see, that's still a little damp, but you can see how I can like at least break that up a little bit. It'll be more effective if that's dry all the way, but that's a good way that you can kind of come and fix, you know, something that went a little bit wrong without being too uptight about it. So here I'm just establishing that edge. I give a little, and I'm going to bring some of these trindles now up in here. So it's where it's not so wet, I can get a little more detail with that. And then again, if I just put a little color in, just soften it out. Come in here with another color. And I'm just going to break up where it all kind of ran together before. And you know, if somebody was looking at this, they probably wouldn't think otherwise. It's more that I fixed the essence of the blob where it kind of ran together. Then it, you know, even though it's different than these, I still have a little bit of detail in that blob part is divided up, so it looks like it has a little more meaning to it. I'm going to grab a little bit, since my gel pen isn't showing up very well. I've got a little bit of my bleed proof white. And this is a good investment. I got this at Hobby Lobby. They carry it there. Use a 40% off coupon. This will last you a long time. And if it ever does start to dry out, you can reconstitute it with a little bit of water. So just keep an eye on it. But this is great because you can use it, you know, like nice and strong and get an opaque finish, or you can thin it out too and use it for some highlighting. You see there, I've broken up that blob now with just a little bit of these delicate things coming across it, and it helps it to make a little more sense. Here we go. So for example, if I took this, let me wipe out most of what I've got on my brush, and I could come in here with just a little bit, and I can actually like kind of lighten up an area and just kind of soften it out, kind of brighten that up. So you can use it in that way too. It can be diluted and thinned down. Let's bring a little bit in here. So there are always little, you know, little tricks that can kind of help you fix there, and that kind of helps bring back a little bit of that highlight to it. You could use this. I think the gel pen is a little bit easier. the bleed proof white is going to be stronger, which I think I am going to just use a little bit of this because it the gel pen is, I put it on when the paper was still a little damp, and you're going to lose a little bit of the intensity when that happens, so you might need to go over it again. But those are two things, kind of like sometimes for highlights or fixing little mistakes. They're good tools to have in your toolkit. I would far use this over the white that comes in a set like this, or usually most sets. They really just aren't that opaque, and I don't like the results you get when you mix that with another color. Like if you were trying to get a pink, it's, you know, like with the red or trying to lighten a color, it just doesn't work the same way that it does when you lighten the color just with more water. But there you have a cute little mermaid. Got a little texture. You know, you could come back and add a little more texture to some of our seaweed area here, but you know, just another thing to try for your daily practice, and I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up, and we will see you for our next class.